the motion.
I beg to move that this House has considered World ME Day. It's a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Dame Siobhan, and I'm extremely grateful to colleagues from across the House for their attendance today. There is no single universal experience of myalgic encephalomyelitis, otherwise known as ME. For those who are living with this condition, the distressing and familiar pattern can be all too clear. Initial signs of fatigue, a drastic change in physical ability and activity, and the loss of mental focus and confidence. The condition can begin after a battle with a viral infection, but for others, the start of symptoms can simply just seem unexplainable. Answers and hope are sought by often visiting medical professionals, but too often, ME patients are misdiagnosed, or at worst, they are dismissed entirely. Parents and carers who simply try their best can be chastised, and a once healthy person, a loved one, is slowly taken away by this very cruel condition. Chair, as a country, we have made tremendous progress in combating so many diseases and illnesses. There has been a welcome step change in medical advancement and attitudes, but people with ME have not seen this progress. In fact, I would argue they have been left behind. This debate provides an opportunity to share the experiences of people living with this condition ahead of World ME Day on May the 12th, and for us to consider what more can be done to improve experiences and outcomes for people across the United Kingdom. And I know that we are joined today in person and online today by many people who live with this condition, and I thank them for their continued strength. Now, when I was appointed the Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, we were in the middle of fighting the pandemic. Of course, priorities and resources were naturally stretched, but the emergence of long COVID saw renewed attention brought to ME. And for me, the fight against this illness was not just a policy area, a very important policy area, of course, but it was also something that was simply also very personal. My cousin, who is here with us today, has an amazing daughter who bravely battles this condition. Until the age of 13, she was a happy, healthy teenager. She was academically gifted and a talented netball player. And 7 years later, today, her life has completely changed. So as Secretary of State, I set out my vision for a new approach to ME/CFS in May 2022. I co-chaired a roundtable with the Chief Scientific Advisor, Professor Lucy Chappell, to bring together experts, including people with lived experience, to discuss what needs to happen next. And I also announced the government's intention to develop a cross-government delivery plan for England. 2 years later, although ministers have understandably changed, I hope the determination that I had to tackle this condition remains in government. I was, of course, pleased to see that there was a publication of an interim delivery plan by the government back in August of last year. Supporting people with ME should, of course, be a cross-government initiative. And although the work is rightly led by my Right Honourable Friend's department, the Department for Health and Social Care, I was also pleased to see that this plan was jointly published with the Department of Education and the DWP.
Would the Right Honourable Member give way?
Yes, of course.
I'm very grateful to the Right Honourable Member for giving way, and very pleased to serve under your chairmanship. Sorry, your chair of the committee, Dame Siobhan. I really wanted to raise the issue in relation to all departments being involved, and it relates to my constituent, Sienna Wimmis, who was diagnosed in 2022, and she's 16 years old. And she still has not got an education, care and health plan. And that has meant for her that she got a place at our local college, Barking College. Arrived there, her mother had spoken to the teachers about it, but nevertheless she was sent home because she couldn't attend. She finds it difficult even to comb her hair, and she's at home. So she's lost out on education. Does the right honourable member not agree with me that it's really important not just that health plays its role, but that education also plays its role? And further, whilst I am on my feet, would he also agree with me she has to travel in? There are no local health facilities to respond to her needs and to care for her. So she has to travel into University College Hospital, which is miles from the constituents in Barking. Does he not further agree with me that there should be local healthcare facilities to respond to the needs of people who have this condition?
Yeah, well, first, can I thank the right honourable member for her intervention, and I agree with her on both points. And she emphasises first the importance of the government's plan, the final plan of being a proper cross-government plan, and I hope my right honourable friend, the Minister, will speak to that cross-government nature of the work that he is leading on behalf of the government. And I also agree with the right honourable member on her point about local health support, and that must also be addressed and covered in this final plan that is published. And I must say, what she's shared with the House, I've heard very similar stories from constituents and others as well, and I completely agree with her. So again, I thank her for that intervention. And what I must say, Madam Chair, is that when I committed the government to developing a cross-government delivery plan, I stated, and it was in a written statement to this House, and I quote, "Officials will work with stakeholders ahead of publishing the delivery plan this year." Now, despite this commitment for the delivery plan to be published by the end of 2022, it wasn't until August 2023 that an interim plan was published. And within the ministerial forward of that interim delivery plan, the minister's immediate predecessor stated, and I quote, that the final delivery plan will be published later this year. That was the end of last year. So now we are in May 2024, approaching exactly 2 years since I made the initial commitment. And I am now also, I must say, hearing disturbing reports, Madam Chair, that despite 2 years of waiting, that the final delivery plan may not indeed be published until the end of this year. So, Madam Chair, everyone knows that my right honourable friend, the Prime Minister, has committed the country to a general election by the end of this year. And we also know that at the point that this general election is called, there will be no government publication of any sort that will take place, meaning there is absolutely no time to waste. So, Madam Chair, therefore, may I ask the Minister, when he responds to this debate, if he can give a specific commitment to this House that the final delivery plan will be published before the summer recess, or at the very latest, just after the summer recess. Will you give way? Yes, of course.
I'm very grateful for giving way, and I pay tribute to my right honourable friend for the leadership that he has shown on this issue and continues to do so. I've been contacted by Phoebe Van Dyke, as a young woman living in my constituency, struggling with ME, and her concern is about the extent of the skills that the general medical profession that she encounters has. Her concern is that too many of the doctors she encounters don't understand enough about the condition. Can my right honourable friend assure me that the delivery plan that he wants the government to bring forward will ensure that there is much better training across the range of medical professionals to ensure that people have the skills to understand the condition?
I thank my honourable friend for that intervention, and I can assure him that's definitely what I want to see in the plan. But perhaps what's going to be more important now is to hear from our honourable friend, the Minister, to hear that commitment, because it is touched upon in the interim plan, but I think what we all want to see is in that final cross-government plan that issue, amongst the others, is also addressed. Now, Madam Chair, the interim delivery plan, it did set out some of the current challenges that we must address to improve outcomes and experiences for individuals with ME. We must ensure that the final delivery plan focuses at least on 2 key areas, and that is outcomes and experiences. But making progress in these areas also requires addressing more fundamental problems. So, for example, there is a huge cultural problem when it comes to ME, with a lack of medical understanding and awareness. There is a critical lack of data and research, and there is still no existing cure or even treatments. For instance, It is estimated, and this number is often quoted, I use it myself, it's estimated that around 250,000 people are living with ME in the UK. But even this figure is 10 years old, highlighting the lack of data and research in this field. And without a clear data set and understanding, tackling the issue, of course, becomes an even bigger uphill battle. This is why there are research projects such as Decode ME, which are absolutely vital, because they help increase understanding and they serve as a critical platform for future work. And yes, I will. Yes.
I'm very grateful to the Right Honourable gentleman for giving way. I wonder if he would agree with me that another issue that is faced by constituents is that the NICE guidelines that were introduced aren't being used by every single trust in the country. Only, I think, 28% of NHS trusts are using those NICE guidelines. Would you agree with me that consistency of a treatment and approach would be an important step in making sure that people can get the care that they need?
Yes, I agree with the honourable member, and I remember that those guidelines were changed whilst I was the Secretary of State for Health, and I remember welcoming those, but the expectation, of course, was that they would be properly followed. And as the honourable member says, in all something like 70% of cases, that is doesn't seem to be the case. And I think we would all want to see that addressed, and I hope that the Minister might be able to perhaps pick up on that point when he responds. Madam Chairman, turning to the issue of research, another example is a project called LOCUM, a groundbreaking research project on long COVID and ME diagnostics. It's co-led by Action for ME, the University of Edinburgh, and a computational biology company called Precision Life. It is hoped that this new project, which is utilising the data that's been gathered from the Decode ME project, will provide insights that will be able to create the first predictive diagnostic tools for ME and for long COVID. And I would like to take this opportunity to thank the charity Action for ME for their world-leading work on this project and their crucial support, the research they do and the campaigning they do to improve ME research and outcomes. It is vital that we continue to support organisations such as Action for ME and researchers in this way. The focus of World ME Day in 2024 this year is to build, their focus will be to build a global voice for ME. So in this spirit, it is important that we collaborate with allies across the globe to further research in this area. But even with more research, if we know it will be a long journey to achieve our desired outcomes. This is why improving the experiences of those living with ME and their families is also absolutely vital. I know from my own engagement that individuals with lived experience often feel dismissed. I recall a recent Channel 4 report, Madam Chair, that even highlighted the case of a family who had social services investigate the care of their daughter because they believed that she was being kept in bed against her will. And if it were not for the campaigning organisations like Action for ME, but also the ME Association, the APPG for ME, the organisation Forward ME, and the World ME Alliance, and the work of incredible individuals such as Sean O'Neill, who I believe joins us today, who has led an inspiring campaign in the memory of his daughter, Maeve, the situation would feel almost hopeless if we didn't have these people battling for more work to be done in ME. And it's because of them that the case of the community is being heard. And having myself served in government for so long, I know that when people speak up with the support of many honourable colleagues from right across the House, the government must listen. So, Madam Chair, 2024 marks 55 years since the World Health Organization officially acknowledged ME. For too long, we have failed to recognise the severity of this condition for thousands of people across the UK. So as we mark World ME Day on the 12th of May, we must renew our commitments to improving outcomes and experiences for everyone affected. It is great to see so many honourable members, I say, from across the House today, and I'm grateful to everyone who has attended today's debate in the public gallery and also, indeed, those that perhaps might be joining online. Where such support exists, there is always hope. The ambition is to improve the lives of people with this condition today and ensure that future generations have a brighter future. Helping to make that ambition a reality is now the responsibility of my right honourable friend, the Minister, and I look forward to his response and the contribution of other honourable members. Thank you, Madam Chair.